Hello everyone and welcome to The World Today. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Here's what's coming up on the program. I'd like to call viewers' attention to our breaking news scrolling right now on your screen. The federal government has reached an agreement with the UAE to allow Nigerian passport holders to obtain visas for travel to the country starting from today, July 15. We'll have details on this as we receive them. In the meantime, to politics in the United States, there's been more emerging news since the attempted assassination on former U.S. President Donald Trump in Pennsylvania on Saturday. The former president said earlier today he's supposed to be dead, calling it a miracle he's still alive. He also says he will bring the country together at the Republican convention this week. The former president is not expected to speak at the convention in Milwaukee until Thursday night. While Trump says he will not allow potential assassins to change his plans, he does, however, say that he wants to strike a different tone in this historic moment. Casualties from Saturday's shooting at the Trump rally were one bystander who was killed and two others who were seriously injured. The man who was killed was a 50-year-old volunteer fire chief who was an avid supporter of Trump. He'd been excited about attending the Pennsylvania rally. David Dutch was a longtime employee of Siemens Technology Company and a longtime supporter of Trump, while James Copenhaver was a registered Democrat. In the meantime, authorities are trying to piece together what led to the shooting on Saturday. Many questions remain about the man identified as the culprit, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks. Attention has also turned to the Secret Service and their role in preventing such a dangerous person from entering the rally. They've said they will participate fully in probes announced by President Joe Biden and members of Congress. The FBI says it's investigating the incident at the rally, and President Biden says it's ordered an independent review, while Republican lawmakers have vowed swift investigations. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatle says the agency is increasing security for the Republican presidential candidate and for the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, which begins today. She says the agency has implemented changes to Trump's security detail since Saturday to ensure his protection during the convention and the remainder of the campaign. Well, Russian President Vladimir Putin, whom former President Donald Trump had admired while in office, says he has not contacted Trump following the assassination attempt and had no plans to do so. Asked if security measures around President Putin will now be beefed up given what's happened in the U.S., Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said the Russian leader already enjoys the appropriate level of protection. The Kremlin said on Sunday it did not believe the U.S. administration was responsible for Saturday's assassination attempt on Trump, but accused it of creating an atmosphere that provoked the attack. The Russian president was certainly not in the same category with other world leaders, including Nigerian President Bola Tinubu, who condemned the attempted assassination on former U.S. President Donald Trump. Trump sustained just a graze on his right ear before being whisked away to safety. Nigerian President Bola Tinubu has joined other world leaders to condemn the assassination attempt on former U.S. President Donald Trump in Pennsylvania on Saturday. President Tinubu's comments were made on social media. He described the attack as distasteful and said it goes beyond the pale of democratic norms, adding that violence has no place in democracy.
Take a look at what happened.
The former president was addressing a rally of supporters in Butler, Pennsylvania, when the shots rang out. Secret Service immediately covered the former president, bringing him to the ground before planning his escape. Trump was not shot, but a bullet grazed his right ear. He later posted on Truth Social, thanking the U.S. Secret Service and all law enforcement for their rapid response. Police later said the suspected shooter, identified as 20-year-old Thomas Crooks, was shot and killed by Secret Service. One eyewitness said he had seen a man with a rifle crawling on the roof before shots rang out and that he tried to warn police. Another said it was surreal.
So I heard the first shot, and as soon as I heard that first shot, I turned over and I looked at Trump, and then I heard two more. It was like bang, bang, bang. It was like three right in a row. I looked at Trump, and I saw him looking, and I saw him drop to the ground.
2 people were shot and are receiving treatment in hospital, but volunteer fire chief Corey Comperatore was killed after he dived on his family to protect them. President Joe Biden condemned the shooting and said he would speak to Trump.
The Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate.
Vice President Kamala Harris posted on social media condemning the senseless shooting, as did former U.S. President Barack Obama. More reactions on social media came from the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Both said the violence is unacceptable and sent Trump their best wishes. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu released a video message condemning the shooting, which he described as an attempt to assassinate American democracy. Even Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said in his nightly video message on Saturday that he was appalled by the attempt on Trump's life. He also wished the former president a speedy recovery. The news transcended the United States and was reported by major news networks around the world. As many Trump supporters come to terms with the attempted assassination, many rallied outside the Trump Tower in New York on Sunday in solidarity with their political leader. I want to bring in now security expert Temitope Oludo. He joins us from London. Mr. Oludo, thank you for joining us on the program today.
Thank you for having me.
It's always great to have you. Let's dive right in. Do you believe, like some of the skeptics do, that this attack could have been staged?
There are many theorists out there, or stories out there, but I believe a lot of people are referring to the incident that happened on the 18th of June 2016, when a British national in Vegas decided to pull the gun off a serving police officer to try and assassinate Trump, then a candidate in the election. And because of that, a lot of people are drawing comparison between such incident happening just as it's about to go into an election. But I would say that I do not believe that is the case in this situation. This individual had about 150 meters sight. For people that work within the security services, they understand that the security around the president is not foolproof. It's not fully foolproof. Let's be honest with ourselves, because they have to use local security agencies also, and that particular area needed to be manned by the security of that particular town. And I believe that's where the slack is. But of course, there is a lot of conversation going on. But I do not believe in the skeptic that believe that he has staged his own, assassination. I do not ascribe to that.
Well, just to further buttress their point, an eyewitness did notice the shooter on a roof, called the attention of, the security agents, who probably ignored what he was saying, and then, the shots rang out shortly after that. How do you explain the lapse, in security coverage for the former president at that point?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that even the Marine people that are trained, they could shoot as much as between 200 to 500 meters. This guy, we know his history now from what we've been told, that he's a loner. He couldn't even make the rifle club in his school. But he's a loner. America is a country that has more guns than the population of 300 million. So anything like that will happen. Maybe something like that might not happen in the UK, but definitely in America where everybody has guns is possible. But also it's important to highlight that there is a bubble around the president. It's important that there is a group that is always around the president, which are the people that actually move very quickly. There is the states, and they will have looked at all the different areas around, the venue. Why that particular area was left out is we are left to be told, and we're looking forward to that explanation. We know the FBI is looking into it. We know that the state security services themselves are actually investigating, what has happened. And we know that even the U.S. Congress have called for an investigation. Unlike the ones in Nigeria where even the convoy of Nigerian President was attacked and we've not heard anything about it. There was no investigation, nothing like that, at least for us in the public to know about. So I think we should give credit to the fact that there is an ongoing investigation. And unlike in other countries where such information is kept as secret, this information will be left out, will be put into the public domain, and people could learn from it. And if people's head need to roll as a result of this lapse, we will see it, unlike in other climates where things happen and it just goes under the carpet.
We'll revisit the issue of security here in Nigeria in just a bit. But I just wanted to also point out that this is the former President of the United States. So you may be right about, him not having, a full security team, surrounding him at this point. But many have also criticized the former president raising his fist in the air. That's after he was grazed by the bullets and then after having, Secret Service around him. What do you think was the kind of message that he was trying to pass across? And what sort of image do you think that this portrays? Because this is also one of the images is fueling, the criticism and the skepticism around whether or not this was staged.
This is a man that has always been in the media. And for many that follow him for many of us that work within this cycle, we've seen his picture fixed into that of Schwarzenegger. We've seen his picture, put with Rambo and all those kind of things. So if there's an opportunity for him, to have his own picture, actually right there instead of his image superimposed on other superheroes. I've seen his picture, as a Superman, his people saying Rambo and things like that. This is an opportunity for him to do that. And I believe because he's a showman, he would want to take advantage of the opportunity. Any normal person will not do that. On a normal day, in fact, if you listen to his interview that is given recently, he said that he didn't want to be carried out of the stage because he doesn't want to be carried out as if he's an injured man. That was why he was looking for a shoot. Our mindset is always different. People think differently. I don't know why he's done that. We might have to ask him, or people might ask him in the future. But I believe, as far as I'm concerned, it's not actually appropriate that he should have put his hand up and said, fight, fight, fight. What are you fighting? The rhetoric need to be put down. But unfortunately, we're in a situation where we're talking about American politics. And like I said earlier, where there are more guns in the country than the population of the nation.
I'll tell you, the picture that came to mind, when I saw what happened to the former president on the stage there in Pennsylvania. I had flashbacks of attempted assassinations of former U.S. presidents. Just to mention a few, the famous John F. Kennedy's own assassination in Dallas, Texas in 1963. There was also other U.S. presidents, just to name a few: Abraham Lincoln, James Garfield, Franklin Roosevelt. And I just want to ask if if it does appear that America is returning to those times of political intolerance.
There's no doubt in my mind that it's not just America alone, but across the world there seems to be the tuning of political violence that is upcoming. Even in the UK, where we just finished our election, there have been reports of political violence. But political violence, whether it's shouting at people, pouring milkshake at them, which would have been an acid, God forbid, is political violence, whichever way you look at it. And it's going on and on all over the world now. And there is need for political leaders to come out and say there is no place for violence in political election. I think we all need to start, looking at having politics and, practicing politics the way it should be practiced. It's whoever wins, whoever the people decided to select. Like the UK Prime Minister just said, "I'm sorry that we've disappointed you, and that there might be another 4 years. You might have another opportunity, but you do not need to bring in violence into an election." And I think that is where even President Biden needs to tone down his rhetoric. The President Donald Trump also needs to tone down his rhetoric. Every one of them needs to calm down, because we don't need another assassination of a U.S. president.
Yes, and the Secret Service role in this, of course, comes to question again. Even at the point where they're trying to get him off the stage, he's actually open, to, if there was a second shooter on the scene, he definitely would have taken the former president out. Just wanted to point that out.
I agree.
The Secret Service also says they're beefing up security around him, especially for the Republican convention this week, and then for the rest of the campaign. I'm also wondering, what about the U.S. president? What about, other public figures, other political public figures in the United States? Should they also consider reviewing their security apparatus, their security architecture, and all of that, especially during this campaign season? I know that some people do blame Trump, for the rhetoric that's going on in the U.S. And because of lax gun laws and all of that, that may have also contributed to what we're seeing today. But security-wise, sorry, I say we, not American, but shouldn't they also be considering beefing up security for other public service holders?
There's no doubt in my mind that is going on as we speak. But we should understand that this is America. They have the technology, they have the capacity to look at to use intelligence as the basis for which they will determine who should get support. And that has also been done in the UK when one of our MP was sadly killed. Our MPs were given the opportunity to have additional support, security protection, which is available there. So in some states, it's funny we're talking about America, where the convention is going on, has started today, and is only the area where the convention is going on that guns have been restricted. Every other places, even 100 meters away from there, people can still carry guns on their body. So it's I don't know why. And even with this incident that happened, you will notice that both the Republican and the Democrat have decided not to talk about gun control. And that is something that any one of us that live outside America will wonder, why will you guys still continue to consider or to hold this secret that nobody should touch your constitution? I think the Constitution of America needs to be amended with regard to weaponry. I honestly believe that, because you have people knock on somebody's door and they pull a gun and shoot at them, and we have stories and stories and stories, and yet the gun laws have not been amended in such a way radically to ensure safety and security of people.
Well, people who have been unaffected, it seems, by mass shootings in the U.S. have been a number of them right from the time of President Barack Obama, even up until now. There have been a number of mass shootings in the U.S. And then, with every shooting, there are calls for, new stricter restrictions on gun laws and all of that, and still nothing is done. But let's bring this home now. There have been countless political assassinations in this part of the world. And while be careful not to encourage any copycats, what should be the standard procedure for protecting public office holders?
The Nigerian situation is a paradox. But for me, I don't know how they do it, because if it's based on how we understand intelligence and the world, baseline, you know that Nigeria does not even have the appropriate security for politicians The president is protected because they threw a number of people there. A lot of Nigerians will see motorcade of 150 cars, 70 cars following the roads are blocked and things like that. But that's not the way you actually do modern protection. And I'm not knocking DSS or knocking the security services. I know that the individuals are well trained. Some of them have been trained in Israel. They have the capacity to do it. It's just that the institution itself is just moving at a snail approach. Unfortunately, we have governors that have been running for their life, like the governor of Benue State. We have the governor of Borno State, almost assassinated at one point. We have the motorcade of the president, but former President Buhari attacked before he came into power. Came into power as a civilian president, and even when he was in power, there was an attack on his convoy, on his decoy convoy, and yet we've not had anything. Many people were killed. Nothing was said about it. You have just reported the names of the people that were killed in the rally and the people that are injured. Nothing was mentioned of the names of the people that were killed during the motorcade attack. Nothing. It's only in Nigeria that you don't even know the identity of the people involved in any attack, and everything is kept on the carpet. So how do you review? How do you understand what to improve? And that's the challenge we have with our security services. It's not the individuals, who are actually my colleagues that are very good and have got the training. I think it's just the way in which the institution, is developed and improved is very, very poor.
Yeah, and even poorer is the way security is for even the common man. I don't know how many people can actually walk up to a police station and ask for help and really get the help at the time that it is needed. And then there's also extrajudicial killings by the Nigeria police and so on. Our security architecture definitely has to be overhauled, right?
I totally agree with that. And I believe, even though there is a debate that is ongoing about state policing and things like that, I think what we need is people-led policing rather than the top-down approach that is adopted. I've never had the confidence of walking up to a policeman to shake their hands on the street of Lagos or Abuja to say, I want to take a picture with them, but I could do that anywhere else in the world. And this is the kind of thing that the Nigerian Inspector General of Police should look at. The UK Commissioner of Police goes out to do arrests. I've never heard of Nigerian Inspector General of Police leading his men to actually carry out a kind of an arrest and a raid, and actually leading from the front. There is a need to review our approach to policing in Nigeria. And modern policing means that if in Abuja business district, there is a police formation there, the community there should be able to know how much is budgeted to the police in that area, how many police do they have, and to be able to tell to the police it's only between 10 and 5 p.m. that we have problem with policing. We want you to redirect your policemen to those times. But you can't even have that kind of conversation with the police. They don't even have dialogues with the community to have that kind of engagement. So we're not talking about textbook policing. We're talking about modern policing. As somebody that have worked as a special constable in Kent that was seconded to Metropolitan Police and worked in the Office for Security and Counterterrorism in the UK. I'm not happy with the way Nigerian policing is, but we're hoping that under the new President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, that things will change. But it means that they need to get people involved in that conversation, even with the de-radicalization of individuals, just like this individual that was involved in the Trump issue. There's a lot of de-radicalization going on in Nigeria, but like we know, as the military, picking the people that are radicalized, the military de-radicalizing them, the military releasing them. There is no community input into that. So everything we do in Nigeria is upside down. I hope we change that approach and start, looking at different approach and use the private security companies out there, people with expertise, people that have left, to improve our security infrastructure.
Thank you so much, security analyst Temitope Olodo, for reminding us again how much we need to take our security seriously as we continue to monitor updates and developments from the United States.
Thank you for having me.
The local community is mourning the loss of former fire chief Cory Comparatore, who was tragically killed while shielding his daughters during the shooting at the Trump campaign rally in Butler County in Pennsylvania on Saturday. The rally held at the Butler Farm Showgrounds had turned chaotic when gunfire erupted shortly after the former U.S. president began his speech. Cory Comparatore, a beloved figure and former chief of the Buffalo Township Volunteer Fire Company, died a hero. Witnesses and family members recounted how he immediately shielded his daughters from the bullets, sacrificing his own life to protect them. His actions exemplified his lifelong commitment to protecting others, a trait that endeared him to many in the community.
Positive as possible. He's a great man that deserves honor and respect in the highest of high. He wouldn't want us to sit here and be sad. He would hate it. From what I've gotten knowing him and just hearing other people talk, it's the last thing he'd want. He'd want to share the good times and think of them. Like, he wouldn't want to be thought of as a hero, but that's definitely how he should be remembered. He just He's one of the guys, we don't do it for the thanks or the pat on the back, nothing like that. We do it because we love it and we have a passion for it. And that's what he did, saving his family, was because of just the love and the passion he had. I'm not one to get into politics, and it just baffles me that there's people that get so extreme into this stuff. Because I can't even fathom it, because I'm not political one way or the other. I could honestly care less about either side. And just to see how they act and get so extreme at times, and would take it. Someone willing to try, because they had different views, take someone's life and then not even care that there's chances, and did take innocent other lives. It's just beyond me. I honestly don't have many words for that.
We've had the VOA's Jackson Mungai monitoring reactions to the assassination attempt from Washington, D.C. He sent this in earlier.
Hello, I'm VOA's Jackson Mungai here with a quick update on what has been called an assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump during a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. Early Sunday, authorities said that they had identified the gunman involved in the attack as a 20-year-old named Thomas Matthew Crooks. The shooting occurred just after Trump took the stage at 6 p.m. local time, and analysts said that it raises some critical questions about the security protocol at political events, especially political rallies involving high-profile candidates. Analysts say again that despite the already extensive security measures at such rallies, there is likely going to be a thorough review of existing security protocols, and perhaps we could see more stringent measures when candidates are campaigning to ensure their safety and that of the public. So what could be some of the consequences of this? Now, analysts are saying that this incident could influence voter sentiments and impact the dynamics of the upcoming presidential elections. They are saying also that in a polarizing political environment, any threat to the life of a political candidate can really galvanize his supporters and potentially increase their resolve to turn out for their candidate. Conversely, it may also heighten tensions and divisions within the country, intensifying an already polarized political environment. In terms of the status of the investigation about this incident, authorities have indicated that the investigation could take some time, suggesting a complex and multifaceted inquiry to determine the motive behind the attack, also to determine whether the shooter acted alone or as part of a larger conspiracy. So far, authorities say that the shooter appears to have been working alone. But again, investigations are continuing, and we could learn more details in the coming hours and days.
As we've already mentioned, the former U.S. President Donald Trump is in Milwaukee, where he'll be formally nominated as the Republican presidential candidate later this week. Dozens of his supporters were seen gathering at a perimeter fence around the airport as he arrived today. The former president has insisted on continuing with his campaign schedule despite the assassination attempt. Now, in the aftermath of the shooting in Butler, Pennsylvania, where former U.S. President Donald Trump was injured on Saturday, a political analyst has discussed the incident's potential impact on the Republican National Convention this week. Julia Azari, a professor of political science at Marquette University, says the shooting has increased attention on the convention's upcoming events, particularly Trump's scheduled speech on Thursday.
I think that there are a couple things that will happen. One is that there'll be greater attention focused on the RNC. I think this is going to really heighten the nation's interest in the vice presidential pick, in the speeches later in the week, and then, of course, culminating with Trump's speech on Thursday. It will also be interesting to see what people say about tone and about a kind of larger theory of what's driving what happened yesterday. Any bump that Trump might get from this event, any sort of short-term or longer-term kind of rallying effect around him from a campaign rally effect. That'll be one thing that'll be difficult to distinguish. And the convention bump is real, and often it sort of fades off, but has some lasting impact, and that'll be true for both conventions most likely. I think that the image clearly has landed with some people, and I could see the campaign kind of using this image. I think that the story of sort of surviving this assassination attempt might also be part of the campaign. I think the more you get into kind of the bigger questions about what happened, who was the shooter at the time we're having this conversation, we don't really know very much about that person at all. That because the details I think are going to become more lost, and the sort of the image probably is what will last. So here's a sort of take that I have on the convention more generally. Typically conventions are kind of about bringing together all the different parts of a political party and both acknowledging that diversity. And if you look at the schedule of events, you see all different delegations from around the country. You see different issues highlighted, different groups, African American Republicans, Latino Republicans. So acknowledging that diversity in party coalition and then bringing it to unity around the candidate. That's already a little bit different because Trump has so become the face of the GOP and because it has so much become about this one individual candidate. And it seems likely that this event will amplify that as the RNC is trying to map on Trumpism onto existing practices. I think we'll run into certain kinds of tensions as it gets, as you said, more into specific issues, more into specific implications. And so using the event as kind of a rallying point is one thing, but then I think there is a little bit of a tension there between the sort of rally around a leader versus rally around a party.
Last night, U.S. President Joe Biden addressed the nation in the wake of the attempted assassination on his predecessor, Donald Trump. He asked Americans to lower the political temperature and remember that they are neighbors. It will be the third time President Biden will make an address from the Oval Office. Gun violence remains a fact of life in America, but political violence is far rarer in modern times.
My fellow Americans, I want to speak to you tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature in our politics. And to remember, while we may disagree, we are not enemies. We're neighbors, we're friends, co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we're our fellow Americans. We must stand together. Yesterday's shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania calls on all of us to take a step back. Take stock of where we are, how we go forward from here. Thankfully, former Trump is not seriously injured. I spoke with him last night. I'm grateful. He's doing well, and Jill and I keep him and his family in our prayers. We also extended our deepest condolences to the family of the victims who was killed. Corey was a husband, a father, a volunteer firefighter, a hero, sheltering his family from those bullets. We should all hold his family and all those injured in our prayers. Earlier today, I spoke about an ongoing investigation. We do not know the motive of the shooter yet. We don't know his opinions or affiliations. We don't know whether he had help or support, or if he communicated with anyone else. Law enforcement professionals, as I speak, are investigating those questions. There is no place in America for this kind of violence, for any violence, ever. Period. No exceptions. We can't allow this violence to be normalized. You know, the political record in this country has gotten very heated. It's time to cool it down. We all have a responsibility to do that. Yes, we have deeply felt strong disagreements. The stakes in this election are enormously high. Disagreement is inevitable in American democracy. It's part of human nature. But politics must never be a literal battlefield, and God forbid, a killing field. I believe politics ought to be an arena for peaceful debate, to pursue justice, to make decisions guided by the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. We stand for an America, not of extremism and fury, but of decency and grace. I'll continue to speak out strongly for our democracy, stand up for our Constitution and the rule of law, to call for action at the ballot box, no violence on our streets. That's how democracy should work. We debate and disagree. We compare and contrast the character of the candidates, the records, the issues, the agenda, the vision for America. But in America, we resolve our differences at the battle box.
U.S. President Joe Biden. Well, T-shirts featuring a picture of Donald Trump just after he was shot went viral on online merchandise platforms after the U.S. presidential candidate narrowly escaped an assassination attempt, with prices ranging anywhere from around $9 to $40. T-shirts emblazoned with images of Trump pumping his clenched fist in the air while blood streaks across his face have become the latest in a long line of Trump products. The former president was holding a campaign rally in Pennsylvania on Saturday when the shots rang out. Merchants hoping to make a good deal out of what has happened. Let's detour now to the security situation in Somalia, where a car bomb exploded outside a restaurant in the capital, Mogadishu, on Sunday night, killing 5 people and injuring 20 others as patrons were watching the finals of the Euro 2024 football tournament on TV. The bomb destroyed 10 cars and damaged several buildings nearby in a well-guarded area near the presidential palace. Al-Shabaab militants claimed responsibility for the attack. On an affiliated radio station, they said the bombing targeted a place where security and government workers meet at night. The Islamic group, which once ruled much of Somalia, has been fighting for years to impose its strict interpretation of Islam on the country. Voting has been taking place in Rwanda, where President Paul Kagame cast his ballot earlier today in presidential elections. He is widely expected to secure a 4th term and extend his nearly quarter-century rule over the East African nation. 2 men standing against him, Frank Habineza from the Democratic Green Party and independent Philippe Mpayimana, say they are hoping to make some progress. Analysts and rights groups say Kagame's overwhelming victory is all but certain. Kagame, who got more than 93% of votes in the last 3 elections, won praise from Western and regional leaders at the time for helping end the 1994 genocide in the country. The U.S. State Department and others have also lauded the development of the economy. However, campaign groups, including Human Rights Watch, have accused authorities of cracking down on journalists, the opposition, and civil society groups before the vote. Kagame has dismissed the accusations and described himself as the stability candidate. Earlier, my colleague Layo Larinde spoke with the VOA's Mariama Diallo about the elections. She's in Kigali.
Now is a huge part of what Rwandan history is, at least when you think about him during the genocide. When it happened in 1994, it is his army, it's the RPF people who came in and ended that. So since then, he's served as vice president, he's served as Minister of Defense, and then, in fact, he told us, he had a presser the other day, and told us that he actually never wanted to be president. In 1994, he said he was asked to be president, he declined it. It's not until 2000 when he was asked again that he decided that, yes, let me give it a chance. And he's been able to stay in power in a way that he had 2 terms, he had 3 terms, and in 2015, I believe, the Constitution was changed. And he might actually be able to stay until 2034. But at the presser the other day, the questions were swirling. People were asking him, is he thinking about retirement? Is he thinking about grooming somebody or participating in grooming somebody, replace him for the party? And he had, at first he said he never wanted to be president. Second, he said it is his party, actually, and the people who vote for him that keep asking him year after year after year to run. I think he even joked that they want to squeeze the last blood out of him. He said he's told his party it's time for them to find somebody else, but year after year they ask him. The other point he made was that he also said that why do people asking me, when am I going to leave? When am I going to leave? I mean, I am not the one. People who elected me are asking me to stay. So this is a quote. He says, I am a little bit confused, and that's not fair. So in one way, he says that it's his party who's asking him, another that he's ready to retire, but on the other hand, he's also saying that why do people keep asking him when he's going to retire, when people who voted for him keep asking him to stay.
And, he has just 2 opposition candidates that are running alongside him. But analysts have said that he's set to win by a landslide, looking at, based on previous times, that he had won with over 90%. But, Mariama, are there issues, Rwandans want to see a change in the country, even as they pick their next president?
I think the 2 candidates, I think they are very courageous in a way, in a sense. I'm sorry, this is just my phone. In a sense that, all the predictions are saying that Kagame is going to win the race, but they are staying in the race because both of them, they are not necessarily criticizing him. They think he's done a lot of good work, but they want to also have the opportunity to participate in moving this country forward. And they think that he has stayed for too long. You talk about the 2 million new voters this year, who they've only known Paul Kagame. So those are the issues, and they have their manifestos, and they've shown whether in many industries, whether it's agriculture, health, education, they've shown at least in their manifestos how they want to change those industries. Some of the voters, young voters that we interviewed, talked about the issues that I think every young African has. We've seen it recently in Kenya with the Gen Zs who talk about really high cost of living. Talk about asking their governments to tackle corruption. Although I think corruption, in a way, Rwanda is doing very well in that sense, according to analysts. But in many countries, those are the problems that the youth is asking about, including here in Rwanda. One person, and the other big one that I forget to talk about is jobs. And all of them, the young kids that I interviewed, some of them are very happy they've been able to find jobs, but other ones have told us there are no jobs, and they really want to see a leader that's gonna change that.
Indeed, Mariama. So, well, that would be all. But just before I let you go, how soon can we get the results?
Well, the Electoral Commission chairman, we were there yesterday, briefed us about, how long they're going to take to come up with these results. And surprisingly, I think they've told us that maybe around 9 p.m. today, a little bit later in this evening, they might be able to have preliminary results to announce. So as soon as we're done here, we're going to head right back to the National Electoral Commission and obviously keep an eye on it.
Thank you so much, Mariama Diallo in Kigali there, the VOA's Africa correspondent. Thank you.
The French consulate has celebrated France's National Day, also known as Bastille Day, which comes up every July 14th. As the day fell on Sunday this year, the celebrations took place a day earlier at the Lycée Louis Pasteur, a French school in Victoria Island, Lagos. The celebrations also come just weeks ahead of the 2024 Summer Olympics holding in Paris. Amidst the networking amongst guests from the diplomatic community, traditional leaders, government representatives, and members of the French-Nigeria business community in Lagos, Consul General Mr. Laurent Favier highlighted France's relations with Nigeria, an example of which is the visit by 4 members of the government in 2024 already. He says Nigeria is France's first trading partner in sub-Saharan Africa, accounting for 60% of imports from West Africa. Partnerships have grown between the two nations to fashion, education, and technology.
We've launched a fashion and design program called the Lagos X Paris, which has supported 10 high-potential Nigerian brands this year through training, mentoring, and financial support. They will attend very soon fashion trade shows and Paris Design Week next September. Since the beginning of 2024, we have brought support to more than 60 audiovisual professionals through training, capacity building in animation, documentary, and video games. They will attend big international festivals in France too, very soon, and the new training sessions are about to start by the end of this year. This dynamism is also reflected in our trade relationship. Nigeria is France's first trading partner in sub-Saharan Africa. It counts for 60% of our investments in West Africa. And to date, France has invested more than 10 billion euros of investment in Nigeria. And that deserves a big round of applause. 100 companies are operating in Nigeria and employing more than 10,000 Nigerians in the oil sector, of course, you know that, but in the logistics, tech, pharmaceutical industry, the agri-food, agriculture, everything that needs the country. Our captains of industry create factories, farms, vocational training centers, and register their action on the long term.
State governor at the event was the secretary to the state government, Mrs. Abimbola Saluhundein, to convey his good wishes.
Nigeria remains France's leading trading partner in the sub-Saharan Africa, and with about 100 French companies located here in Nigeria, many of which are in Lagos. We are delighted to continue this valuable partnership as it holds immense potential for both our countries, particularly Lagos, offering exciting opportunities to deepen this connection for our mutual benefit. Lagos State, the heartbeat of Nigeria, being Nigeria's industrial and commercial hub, the largest economy in Nigeria, third largest in the sub-Saharan, and the most technologically advanced state in Nigeria, with its unparalleled aquatic and cultural splendor, is proud to be home to 70% of French numerous businesses. We hold the bragging rights.
As we end the program, fans in Buenos Aires erupted in joy in the early hours of today after Argentina scored the goal that gave them a record 16th Copa America title by beating Colombia 1-0. Start of play at the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida, was delayed by more than an hour after thousands of fans without tickets tried to force their way in. Lautaro Martinez, the tournament's leading scorer, latched onto a precise through ball from Giovanni Luis Celso before lifting his effort over advancing Colombia goalkeeper Camilo Vargas in the 112th minute to spark wild celebrations among Argentina fans in the local bar of Buenos Aires. Argentina's latest title comes on the back of their triumphs at the 2022 World Cup and 2021 Copa America, and gives 8-time Ballon d'Or winner Lionel Messi the perfect send-off in what is likely to be his last international tournament. The win also marked forward Angel Di Maria's final Argentina match after the 36-year-old, also affectionately called Fidio by fans, said last year he would retire from international football after the Copa, while defender Nicolas Otamendi is also set to end his international career.
Copa America y ver este triunfo desde grande, sentirlo, y mi abuelo que no nos pudo ver campeones, me llena de orgullo, se lo merecía más que nadie.
A perfect send-off, I guess, for all three players. Thanks for watching The World Today. I'm Amarachi.